From Washington, this is VOA News. The U.S. observes Russian military increase in Ukraine. The UN seeks urgent action in the Central African Republic. I'm Vincent Bruce, reporting from Washington. The Pentagon estimates there are now about 20,000 Russian troops in Ukraine as east-west tensions simmer over Russia's intervention in Ukraine's Crimean peninsula. Rear Admiral John Kirby spoke to reporters at the Pentagon Friday.
Clearly, they have thousands of soldiers in the Crimea. Some estimates are up to near 20,000 of them.
Kirby says Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel spoke with the Ukrainian defense minister on Friday and discussed humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. Meanwhile, the State Department also confirmed Secretary of State John Kerry spoke Friday over the phone with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov as the Obama administration moves to impose sanctions on Russia. The White House says President Barack Obama told Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin Thursday that Moscow's actions in Ukraine violate that country's sovereignty. It was the first known direct contact between the leaders since Russian military personnel appeared in Ukrainian territory last Saturday. On Friday, in the Ukraine, armed men smashed a Russian military truck through the gates of a Ukrainian missile defense post in the Crimean peninsula. The men negotiated with the base's commanders as soldiers sheltered in their barracks Friday. No shots were reported. Earlier Friday, Ukraine's interim president, Alexander Turchynov, signed a decree canceling a planned referendum on Crimea joining Russia. State Department spokeswoman Jen Psaki told reporters at the Pentagon the proposed referendum would not be legitimate.
That step is not recognized by the Constitution. It wouldn't be legitimate according to the Constitution of the Ukrainian Constitution, and that our view is that the new government needs to be a part of any conversation or discussion.
A day earlier, Crimea's Moscow-backed legislature voted for the peninsula to become part of Russia and scheduled a referendum on the issue for March 16th. More on these stories at voanews.com. The Paralympic Games, held for disabled athletes, have opened in Sochi, Russia, despite the Russia-Ukraine tension centered on the Crimean peninsula. The games are held in the same location as the 2014 Winter Olympics, which took place last month. Developments in the Middle East Friday. In an interview taped for broadcast with Israel's Channel 2 television, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said it is clear from some Israeli settlements will not be part of an agreement with the Palestinians, and everyone understands that. Mr. Netanyahu said he will make sure that the number of settlements is as small as possible. He also said Jerusalem will remain under Israeli control. The Palestinians want East Jerusalem as the capital of a future state. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary John Kerry met with Jordan's King Abdullah in Aqaba to talk about the Middle East peace process. No details of their talks have been released. The United Nations humanitarian chief, Valerie Amos, says almost the entire Muslim population of the capital of the Central African Republic has fled after a campaign of violence by largely Christian militias. Amos spoke in Geneva.
The situation in the Central African Republic is extremely grave, and urgent action is required by everyone if we're going to prevent further bloodshed. The violence has led to a total breakdown of the state, a state that was already very weak now doesn't really have any institutions, they can't deliver basic services, and they have no capacity to stop the violence.
Amos says about 900 Muslims remain in Bangui. That is less than 1% of the original population of more than 100,000. Amos said the demography of the CAR is changing. Other cities in the western part of the country have seen a similar exodus of Muslims. Saudi Arabia has formally designated the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist group. That announcement was carried by state television, which quoted the Saudi Interior Ministry. Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta says that he and his cabinet will take pay cuts as part of austerity measures to reduce the government's wages. President Kenyatta said Friday that he and his deputy will take a 20% pay cut, while his government and principal secretaries have agreed to reduce their pay by 10%. In stocks in the United States, the Dow Jones finished up 30 points at 16,452.72. The S&P 500 was up just over 1 point, and the Nasdaq was down almost 16 points. For more on these stories, visit us at voanews.com 24 hours a day. I'm Vincent Bruce, VOA News.